Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Sachleen, and with a nice cup of coffee in my hand in this morning of Tuesday. I woke up bright and early and I've completed some stuff, and before going and giving my kids a little microbiology test, I'm here recording the quad recap for this week. Today is Tuesday, the 24th of February. The quads were played on Sunday, the 22nd, and I've had some time to analyze it, and let's go from there. So this week again, we had 3 players, which means it was a round robin and not a full quad. So we had 3 games with 1 player sitting out each game. The first game was Zachariah Carlson versus Bo Turner. Let's get started. D4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d5, knight f3, castle kingside, bishop g5, c5, queen d2. And this is all theory, and the idea for queen d2 is to play bishop h6, albeit not the most cutting edge, but still interesting. And again, bishop g5 is one of the deviations, and something else can be played here. But anyway, so bishop g5, c5, and queen d2. The idea is again to try and play bishop h6 in exchange of that dark squared bishop. Queen a5 was played, and here bishop takes f6, and the idea was to actually try and see if black would play bishop takes f6, knight d5, exchange of the pieces, and then see if white could get knight c7. So till here they were following a game played on the Blitz in 2026, February the 12th, which went from here as 000, bishop g4, bishop takes f6, e takes f6, knight d5, queen takes a2, bishop e2, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, knight c6, dc5, dc5, queen c3, f5. And this is how the game went further, with white winning it. And this was the first Thursday, Feb 12th Blitz on chess.com. Anyway, but instead white chose to take and give parting ways with the bishop pair and forcing black to play e takes f6, and black definitely has here equalized. After knight d5, queen takes d2, king takes d2, exchanging of the queens, a weird decision, but knight a6, defending against knight c7 obviously. And here bishop d3 was played, and I see it, it's okay. But then after bishop g4, d takes e5, knight c5, attacking the bishop. And I think white is definitely feeling some pressure, although it's not present, but is definitely feeling some pressure, because what's happening is that the bishop might open up really soon after moving the pawn. This knight can be exchanged, and then this pawn can come under pressure. And there's already one attacker, a second attacker might be lining up. So there are some issues that white has to hold, and so white tries to simplify. D takes e5, knight takes e5, and knight d4 was played. Again, not trying to get his pawn structure messed up. But here's the first puzzle of the week. So if you are playing along, you want to pause and find what's the move for black. So for a split second, I will move this if you want it from the black's perspective, but try to find it from the white's perspective. If you still want to look at the black's perspective, go back a few seconds and pause it there, and then find. Well, the move was also played in the game. F5 was played, attacking the knight. And there's a bunch of attackers on this pawn and only one defender, but also this knight is skewered, and b2 is also being attacked. So a bunch of threats have suddenly opened up for black. And after knight b5, f takes e4, bishop c2, going back, black actually missed, bishop takes b2. And after the discussions, it was told to me that they missed not bishop takes b2, but actually after rook b1 coming back to e5, defending the pawn. So sorry, wrong colors, defending the pawn. Yeah. So instead bishop e5 was played, completely missing what happened with this. And here rook ae1 was played, and I think the chess.com engine actually was probably saying b4 is an idea. And the thing is that you have to go knight d7, because if you take, I think you can take and you can push, and then there might be some complexity here with it. But anyway, so here in fact, actually the engine gives a line after bishop takes a1, rook takes a1, knight d1, knight d6, and it's equal. And in fact, after b4, if the knight goes back, now you play bishop takes e4, and you're willing to give that rook away because your pieces have activity, and that is actually more important. And then also black has to part with bishop pair. But again, a little difficult move for like to understand from the level that we're taking a look at it. So rook e1 was played instead here. Instead of b4, rook e1 was played. Bishop d7 going back. Trying to attack one of the knights, moving the pawn away, the c4 pawn away from the center. Knight bc7 was played, rook a8, and b4 finally came. b4 is a move that you cannot definitely ignore for a long time, so if it is available for a persistent amount of time in the game, it will be played. Knight d3, knight d3, bishop takes a3, e takes a3, and here f4 is played, pushing the bishop back. G7, knight e7, king h8, and king takes d3, and here the position has come back to equal. After h3, king g7, g4 was played, again gaining space on the king side. Bishop takes e7, rook takes e7, and this is really interesting since the pawns are equal and materials equal. The only difference is the bishop versus the knight, and here mistake, bishop c6 was played, giving black the full giving white the full control of the e-file. And since this knight controls a lot, there's going to be a lot of problems very soon. So now you have to defend against the cheeky threat, and this is not a problem anymore since it comes with check. But after rook d7, knight e8 was played, and after the king moved, you takes, and knight takes d6, winning the pawn. And king g7, b5, rook d8, trying to take. Knight takes b7 is played, attacking the rook. Knight bishop c6. Knight takes d8, bishop d7, knight b7, bishop f5, king d2 is played. Well, I feel like that's not what happened. I think after bishop c6, knight takes d8, black resigned, but the DGT picked up a couple of moves. But this is where the game ended. Anyway, that's it for this game. Let's go to the next one. So this one, both tournament played against Matthew Fudge, and this game seemed to be more of an opening mistake than that of a full-fledged game. We did see Matthew Fudge come back after a long time, so this was the fourth quads that happened this year, and this is the first appearance of Matthew Fudge, so maybe a little bit rusty. And after d3, knight c6, knight b2, bishop d6, e4, castle kingside, and rook e1, and this is the king's Indian attack. And here rook e1 basically is threatening e5, and which was missed, and b6 was played, and e5. And funnily enough, even till here, even after the blunder, this has been played before in 2019 in Sao Paulo. Knight takes e5 was played here in that game. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, queen c7. But anyway, in fact here black on bishop b7, e takes d6, queen takes d6, and white is clearly up a piece, and that extra pawn doesn't really matter when you're up a full piece. But we'll see how white converted it. a3, rook f8, knight b3, bishop g5, pinning the knight, trying to ruin the pawn structure. c4, a4, knight c1, h6, bishop d2 coming back. So invoking h6, rook a b8, c takes d5, e takes d5, bishop f4, knight d e5, and here white gets his chance that he has been looking for for the longest amount of time, which is to exchange. And the more pieces on the board, the less is the ratio of the extra piece, less is the amount of material. So more amount of material is present, which means the less is the ratio. So 100 to 99 is much more. So if you have 100 pawns and I have 99 pawns, let's say, or 100 players on a football pitch, and I have 99 players on the football pitch, I'm relatively okay. But let's say if you cut it back down one by one, and you bring it to 2 to 1, suddenly you have twice the amount of players than I have. So 199 is very close to 1, whereas 2 to 1 is almost twice. So very important here is that black tries to keep pieces on the board and play with the lesser amount of ratio, more amount of material. But here with these mass exchanges that black provided the opportunity, the extra knight is suddenly looking really strong and will end up on d6. Bishop a6 is played, queen f3, queen e5, knight c3, d4, knight e4. A knight is finally on an outpost, really nice. Is going to get better and pinning with bishop b7, queen f4, queen e8, and knight d6. And here is the final straw, because after g5, knight takes g takes f4, bishop takes b7, rook takes b7. White is completely an extra pawn up, and black's pawn structure is also messed. The only weakness in white's position is that d3 pawn, but it's very difficult for the black rook to find an entry, and it has to go through this big route, which white can actually cover in 2 moves, and not even going to be a little any bit of a problem. But rook e1, f takes g3, h takes g3, b5, knight d6, and white comes back very cleanly to exchange. And even though black gets a passed pawn, the problem is how are you ever going to stop it, because knight on e3 just stops the promotion square, and then on d2 rook d4 basically comes in and provides the second defender. Therefore no promotion is going to happen, and after rook a2 your rook's literally subjected to stay on these squares for the rest of the game. Although white's pieces are also tied, but white can just play this, take up the pawn, and it's completely winning with one extra pawn and a piece. But knight c4 is played, and there's no way you can again stop it. And after rook f4, king e6, knight d4, forking the king and rook, black resigned. So it ended up really bad for black, starting with already a piece down on move 10. So, but good opening theory before that, and then just a slight miss. That's okay. Let's go to the next game. We won't save it. This was between Matthew Foyt and Zachariah Carlson. Knight f3, c5, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, g6, c4, knight c6, d4, cd4, knight d4, and the reti. Very interesting. Queen b6, knight takes c6, slightly off. D takes c6, castle kingside, especially because you've moved this knight 3 times, twice already, and you'll be moving it a 3rd time. Not uncommon, but also not very principled. So d takes c6, castle kingside, bishop g7, knight c3, bishop b6, and queen b3. And again, they were following a game from 2016 till here, and here b3 was played, trying to defend the c4 pawn, but with queen b3, black expecting queen takes b3, a takes b3 to be a little better, activating the rook directly by moving this pawn. But instead, black finds queen a6, and now the pawn on c4 is very difficult to defend. So queen a4, queen takes a4, knight takes a4, bishop takes a c4, knight c5, trying to attack b7 but castle kingside, and it's suddenly difficult. And here bishop f4, and black found a really nice move, which is knight d5. The point is basically I am threatening to take on f4, and which also gives me bishop pair, ruins your pawn structure. And rook fe1 was played, trying to defend the e2 pawn, but that allows knight takes f4, g takes, messed up. Knight takes f4, g takes f4, bishop d4. The point is very clear that the knight on c5 is undefended, the pawn on b2 is undefended. You cannot play e3 because the knight on d5, and then the pawn on f2 is a little weak. So the major fork is c5, b2, but I'm also looking or eyeing at f2. So after knight e4, bishop takes b2, rook a b1, bishop a3, bishop h3, check f5, blocking off the bishop's play. Black has two fantastic bishops just running all around the board, has an open file all to himself, will probably be able to double up. Knight c3 was played, a5, defending, trying to play, in fact, preparing b5 to take some more space. e4, rook d3, attacking the bishop on h3 and the knight on c2, so white has to force the exchange. And after f takes e3, bishop d3, attacking the e4 pawn. And here, for some reason, white played e takes f5, and after bishop takes b1, blundering the rook, white resigned. Yeah, so this game basically lies on the point where knight d5 was allowed. So even till here, I feel like it's not as bad, but after knight d5, it becomes really difficult for white to hold on to some parts, because this pawn's hanging. So materialistically, you're going to have to compromise, and then we're also giving up the bishop pair and ruining our pawn structure once you're going to capture back. So it is a definite problem that white needs to answer, and then maybe one of the moves can be this, but it still leads to this bishop being really active. So not sure. Black should have white should have instead tried maybe bishop g5 instead of that, or in fact here instead of rook g1, maybe tried bishop g5 and tried to trade this way. So you get something back, and it's still playable, possible, although this pawn on b2 is also falling. So there were many holes for white to plug, and not enough pieces to do it, and not enough moves obviously to do that. Anyway, thank you for watching. This concludes this week's recap. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.